Ladies and gentlemen, if you can hear me, I'll simply ask whether there are others that are on the way in who might want to come in, and if not, we'll probably get underway. Again, ladies and gentlemen of the faculty, the staff, the administration, and leaders of the student body, thank you for assembling on short notice for an announcement from me and an announcement also from Rector Tiller, which you deserve to hear from us before you receive it from the media. At a meeting of our Board of Trustees today, action was taken at my request, which is important to all who've worked toward the end of making this university one of the finest. I believe that action to be in the best interest of the university and for all who are the reason for its success and who benefit from its service. Almost 15 years ago, I made a statement to the faculty in which I said, and I quote, "I've come to this university with a commitment to stay no less than 5 years because one cannot be effective in less time. I'm prepared to assess with you our relationship at that time to determine whether we can go for another 5. I think you'll be better able to give me your maximum support if you know that I do not conceive of myself as guaranteed a lifetime position unless I, along with you, continue to produce," end of quote. I stated then that in a survey of presidents, the most effective term of office was 5 to 10 years with an average of 9.2 years. I noted that I had served 5 years already at Meredith College as president and hoped I could serve at least 10 years here. I will have served 15 years as president of the University of Richmond at the end of this year and 20 years as a college university president in total. I said when I accepted this position that my job was not to hold us back but to move us forward. I still feel that way. I noted that we do not have time to stop if we're to renovate, remodel, reconstruct, and construct libraries, science buildings, administrative facilities, classrooms, dormitories, student centers, parking areas, roads and walks, air conditioning, faculty offices, lighting, as well as other physical needs, and to rise to the new dimensions of salaries, benefits, academic programs, and student services, all of which will challenge our immense capacity for new resources. That's what we were talking about 15 years ago. I noted on my election in a statement to the faculty, administration, and students that the occasion was a highlight in my life, and I hoped it would prove to be a force for the future good of the university. I believe that in accomplishing all and more than we conceived of as possible at that time, I can be proud with you in the reality that we have been true to the challenge of making this one of the finest small universities in the country. Most of you were not a part of the university community 15 years ago. Thus, only some of us know the full story of our journey from a pleasant and respectable valley to this high plateau. Less than 40% of the current faculty were teaching here in 1971. And believe it or not, less than 10% of the administration and staff, totaling some 600 plus, sail forth with me to conquer these new worlds. Certainly none of the present students can fathom the nature of the university at that period in history. But to put it in perspective, I recently spoke to the student editor of the Collegian who interviewed me in 1971 just before I took office. Because he lives in California, he had not been on campus often, if at all, until very recently. He remarked that we had accomplished what at that time was to him an almost impossible dream, and from a student's point of view, just so many platitudes. But what was perceived by the students 15 years ago is not at all the perception of students today. And what was the dream of the faculty 15 years ago would seem shallow and short-sighted to the faculty of today. That difference in view applies as well to the president. I too was another person at another time in 1971, and today I head a very different institution. Such a declaration does not mean that the students of 1971 would not be worthy of their alma mater today, nor does it mean that faculty who provided leadership at that time are unworthy of service in this very different place. Nor does it mean that a president acquainted with riding the rapids and turbulent waters of dramatic and dynamic change is incapable of steering in calmer but deeper waters. It does mean, however, that the students of today, the faculty of today, and the administrative leaders of today must, as an entity, community-wide, be capable of looking ahead as we in those days 15 years ago looked ahead to greater attainments. Those objectives must be defined and articulated and marketed as surely and as clearly as we defined and articulated and marketed then what today is a reality. There must be in the faculty and the administration enough continuity to provide that some who enter the ranks to march forward again will in fact still march with those who look back 15 years hence to declare that the goal has been reached and mission accomplished. Faculty, administrators, and staff come in all ages, competencies, and energies, assuring such continuity. But there's only one president. This particular president, although almost 10 years younger than his predecessor, Dr. Maudlin, when he retired from the presidency, and almost 20 years younger than Dr. Boatwright when he retired, is aware of the fact that he would likely not lead the next march as vigorously, as effectively, or as positively as he's led the present one. Early on, I might do very well, but further into the journey, I might falter, even if slightly. So it is right that I recognize that this institution deserves the opportunity to seek a new helmsperson, a new vision, and a new voice. For me, it's clear that even though I am not of retirement age, and I do not choose to retire, I should not risk restraining or restricting a university which has the momentum for continuing its journey onward and upward. At the same time, I am not so young that I choose to start a new career or assume another presidency. Thus, I have asked the board to assign me a supportive role in which I can serve while someone else leads. I've asked that this someone be appointed effective September 1, 1986. The board has asked that at that time I assume the title and active role of chancellor as provided under the bylaws. A new president will within this framework provide the leadership of the university, and I will serve as best my talents allow in areas designated by the board in consultation with the president and with me. Today is not the time for long speeches or sweeping statements. It is appropriate, however, to allude to the factors which make possible my moving from the presidency next year with pride in the results of my efforts. Leaving with a feeling of pride, momentum, and maximum goodwill is the right way to transfer the reins of office. I know above all else that I am able to do this because of you, and that's why I wanted you here. Our people are our greatest asset. When one's colleagues succeed, so does he. From the loftiest professorship represented here to the loftiest custodial position represented here, my success is mirrored and my reputation is defined. Robert Hutchins, former president of the University of Chicago, once said, "It is the president's job to afflict the comfortable." Like every president, I have disturbed some by upsetting the status quo. I have overdone some things and I've underdone others. But most of what I have done has been necessary if we were to do more than simply keep the university alive. If we were to thrive with strength, vitality, quality, and high reputation, what we have done, we needed to do. John Gardner said, quote, "An important thing to understand about any institution or social system is that it does not move unless it's pushed. What is generally needed is not a mild push, but a solid jolt. If the push is not administered by a vigorous and purposeful leader, it will be administered eventually by an amused citizenry or by crisis. Leaders must deal with those inherently untimely situations in which two equally worthy constituents or groups want mutually exclusive things. They must assert a vision of things as they might be and summon others to the sacrifice needed to achieve them. They must help keep hope alive, hope that despite the gravity of our problems, despite our frailties and occasional savagery, we can gain command of our situation and ourselves," end of quote. I am presuming at this point that I've given the university my best push and that it now needs to be pushed by another. The university needs the ideas of the young and the wisdom of age, the maturity of years and the vigor of days, and the university must not be allowed to lag. I noted early in my administration that the university could build higher towers on its strong foundations and attain greatness not yet achieved with the right attitude and spirit. These years together have, from my perspective, been exemplary in spirit. I dare say that the board and administration owe to the faculty a great deal of the credit for results attained by virtue of the attitude of that particular group. You collectively, along with the staff, have given strong encouragement and endorsement and excellent support to our leadership, even if appropriately you have occasionally called us to task. I used a quote by John Stuart Mills when I spoke early in my administration, which I now recognize was very appropriate. Men often submit willingly, even cheerfully, to authority when they believe it to be exercised well and responsibly in the pursuit of the ends of which they approve and whose benefit they would justly share. That has been true with the faculty and the administration submitting to my authority. It has been true in their submitting to the authority of the board. It has been true of each of us in submitting to the other's authority, because each area has its own authority. Even in times and circumstances of disagreement over the years, serious support and cooperation. You who were part of the university when it arrived, and you who have joined us in the meantime, have been true to your calling. Administrators, faculty, and staff have more than met the demands of their particular professions as professionals. You, the faculty and administration, have risen to every challenge presented, and the staff has fulfilled the services necessary to successful results on the part of both in a positive and in a progressive manner. In a discussion before I accepted the presidency, Mr. Claiborne Robbins told me he did not give his wealth to allow the university to be excessive, nor for it to absorb future tuition adjustments, nor to inflate budgets, nor to expand the university, nor to make the university something radically different. He gave it, he said, as seed money to make a more excellent, more effective, and more significant University of Richmond. Clearly together, we have been true to that charge. During these years, I have not pursued my personal interests and ambitions, nor have I sought to inhibit the views of others. Rather, I have sought to support the general advance of the university as an educational entity. As a result, what we have become is not what I dictated, nor what you dictated, but what we determined together. We have not only prevailed, but we have flourished. We've crossed the frontiers, and we've taken advantage of the challenges. Many new worlds have been conquered. Our vigor has been well spent, and our bold imagination has paid off. Perhaps more than any other one thing, these years of my administration have set the stage for yet another dramatic forward movement that could eclipse the one of the past, though I hope we've done so well that that won't be easy. Nonetheless, with many here involved, I do not doubt that it can be done. This is not a swan song, because I am to serve as president for another 11 months, 8 of which are intensive and demanding, with some 4,500 students expecting the very best of us all, and all of the related demands, including seeking to complete the Cornerstones campaign for $55 million. Today should simply be the pause that refreshes, looking ahead. What I say today merely sets the stage for what will happen tomorrow. It does not relieve me of responsibility, nor does it absolve you of looking to my leadership. In fact, more than ever, we need to work together this year so that a letdown of purpose will not occur. In the Marine Corps, we were taught that we should do the difficult immediately and that the impossible takes a little longer. Before I leave office, I hope yet we will complete some of the impossible things that we've started. Old presidents should never be allowed to fade away, lest their institutions fade with them. They should either die, retire, or take a position where they can continue to serve well in support of the policies of the board and the leadership of a new president. The latter appeared to me the best choice. I with you have been committed to the maximum efforts in order to see the greatest rewards. The risk was that in the future I might be tempted to settle for second best. I have judged not to run that risk. I know that all of us will anticipate and support the kind of new leader who can feel on the inside and project on the outside all of the conditions necessary to leading us to those heights to which we aspire. One who will, in fact, go for the gold as we have and not settle for the bronze. Now that you've heard my announcement and the related comments, you'll want to hear from Carlyle Tiller, our rector, about where we go from here, how we get there, including the selection of a leader who can lead us to the summit of our ambitions. thank all of you for making these years the best of my life and for giving me good reason to believe that life with you in the future in the position suggested will be better than a position of any kind anywhere else. Thank you.
Description of President and selection process. December 1st, 1985, deadline for applications or recommendations to the screening committee. That doesn't mean we will not take something after that, but we hope to get this process started in the next few days, and we would like to set that as the appropriate time to have the applications in. March and April 1986, selection committee interviews candidates and formulates a recommendation or recommendations. May and June 1986, special meeting or meetings of the Board of Trustees to hear recommendations of the selection committee and to elect a new president. September the 1st, 1986, new president takes office. Dr. Heilman is asked and will be granted a sabbatical leave. Fall of 1986, the inauguration of a new president. That's a tall order, ladies and gentlemen, but we are committed to it, and we have outstandingly talented people who will be applying themselves in this important work. However, we will not force it. I can assure you of that, and we have a commitment from Dr. Heilman that if we cannot meet this schedule, he will stay on until we find the proper person to lead this university to even greater heights than it is currently attained. And thank you very much. I'll turn it back to you, Mr. President.